You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
You have my sword.
And you have my bow.
And my trowel.
Hi, you're listening to episode 65 of And My Trowel, where we look at the fantastic side of archaeology and the archaeological side of fantasy. I'm Ash.
And I'm Tilly.
And today we are going to be talking all about Star Wars, so spoilers ahead. So, Tilly, I want you to imagine a galaxy far away.
Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm so excited already.
I love the enthusiasm.
Oh, so excited.
Spanning thousands of inhabited worlds where ancient civilizations rise and fall millennia before the events we know, where massive empires built planet-destroying weapons, and where the remains of the old republic lie buried beneath imperial construction. It sounds like Roman Britain, to be honest.
I can already see some archaeological parallels.
But that is the galaxy of Star Wars, and we've been sent to survey it.
Yay, I feel like we should,
Wow.
Sorry, yes.
That was a different rendition of Star Wars I've never heard before.
That's the beginning, the opening things, when it comes
I'd
up
be like,
on the screen. Yeah, but there's a whole bit before it.
Oh, well, I suppose you were doing the rolling titles. Right, okay, we'll do that again, and you do that music.
Okay, hang on, I'll start. And
So,
then you come
Tilly,
in with the thing.
everyone will be like, what?
I was like, what are they doing?
Please stop. But yes, if you just imagine the rolling titles in your head when we're speaking, that's what's happening.
I mean, I feel like everyone probably is, right? Like, my
Yeah.
goodness, it's such a thing.
Yeah, a galaxy far away. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
You know, that's the key.
Or should know it.
Should know it.
Don't know it.
Oh, we have to caveat by saying that we are not encyclopedic
Yes.
fans
100%.
of Star Wars. I'm a fan of Star Wars, but I will not be able to tell you each and every single bit of lore. So if we get things wrong,
Yes.
we
for
apologize.
Us. Don't
Yeah,
cancel us.
real or forever. No.
Enthusiastic observers, but I wouldn't say, like, I feel like, so I think apparently Star Wars was one of the first films I ever watched when I was like 3 years old.
Really?
Yes, because my dad watched it with me. It was funny. It was Star Wars when my dad was watching me, and Pride and Prejudice when my mum was watching me.
I mean, very similar.
There's a lot of overlap. What can I say?
Well, like, Star Wars is just a medieval tale, really, isn't it?
It's just a fun fantasy adventure, and there's
with
cool
knights and
planets
evil,
and
and it's very binary as well.
Yes.
The beginning ones, like
Yeah.
episode 4 is very binary,
Yeah.
where you've got the good and the evil, the Sith and the Jedi. So yeah, it is that
music's
kind of
great. Like the special effects at the time were,
So you watched probably the original one without the remastered version.
Yes, because I remember, because we had them on VHS, showing my age. And so, I can remember that, by the end, because we'd watched them so much, they were getting a bit fuzzy, like around the edges. Because for those of you, okay, I feel like we need to, for our younger listeners listening in, VHS is, what does it actually stand for? Video high something.
I don't know what VHS
I don't know what it stands for. Okay, there we go.
We're 90s kids, okay.
Yeah, we're old enough to have done VHS, but not old enough to know what it stands for. There we go. But it was videos, kind of like cassette tapes, but big versions, and you would play them. And kids these days don't even know what a DVD is. I don't know how to communicate this. Like, it's... because they also don't know cassette tapes and things as well. It's basically something you insert into a machine, and that machine plays it on your... It's like a USB, but like instead of...
like a USB.
But you have no control over the content, although you could have control over the content because you could record things that were on the TV by putting a VHS tape in and pressing record, which you wouldn't be allowed to do nowadays probably because...
Well, you've got things. I remember when the Sky boxes came in, and you could record on your TV, like TiVo and stuff like that, where you could just press it. No, do you remember that?
Fancy.
Because I remember my dad accidentally he used one of my Disney films to re-record a game, like a football game,
and
I was
people
like,
don't
"What's
understand.
happened I from Notre Dame.
Exactly. And like people, there's all these stories, right, of people like, oh, I recorded over it and stuff. And like, I feel like that wouldn't happen these days just with all the thing because you just, you make a copy.
No,
like, it's
streaming
fine.
completely changed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, so VHS. But the problem is the more you would watch VHS, the more the tape within the VHS would get like worn. And so that means by the time, so for example, Pride and Prejudice and Star Wars in our house, at some point we bought the DVDs of them. And it was like, oh my goodness, that's what they look like. Because they were so fuzzy by that point that you couldn't really identify facial features properly. Like, so then, yeah. But then, anyway, yes, this is a very long-winded way of saying, indeed, I watched the original ones. And then at some point we bought the DVDs when I was like early teens, I guess. And that had the weird remastered thing on them. And
yeah, so I was going to ask you this because did your videos, did they have the original Jabba the Hutt?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was a guy.
It was, yeah. And
a
then
man, it was a human.
But then we got the other ones, though. So we did get the one with the big slug as well. So, and then there was the DVDs where they then have him randomly in another scene as well. And he's like CGI, which was just...
Yeah, when the remastered stuff came out, I think that was that like the... was that not a special edition, like the late 90s that they remastered?
I thought it was later than that because they also just added in random CGI like creatures walking around in the background.
Yeah, and you could tell because they were a bit
city and stuff. Yeah. Anyway. But yes, so yes. Anyway, yes, I just remember I loved those films. But the three original ones because we had them on VHS and then on DVD, and I just watched them like crazy. And I also read some of the books actually.
I've got some of the books as well. Not the older books, the newer ones that were recently done with the new trilogy that came out.
Okay.
Yeah, I got those books, but I don't have because it changed. The Star Wars constantly reinvents itself, so like the old lore gets rewritten.
Oh, interesting.
And it's almost like not canon anymore. Ooh. So what was interesting I remember reading the Last Jedi book. Mm-hmm. They had a bit where basically it was like two timelines and you had Luke talking to his wife because Luke had a wife in the early books. I can't remember her name now.
I don't think I got
someone
that
will be
far.
screaming at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had a wife.
How could you not know Luke's wife?
Yeah. And then basically, obviously, The Last Jedi rewrote all that in canon. So he didn't have a wife anymore. I couldn't. He's like, Jesus. Like, you know.
Well, that's like Han and Leia had twins.
Yeah, they did.
In the books. Because I remember that story.
Yeah, and then Ben Solo turned up.
Suddenly you have Ben Solo, and it's like, "Where's your sister?" Which
where's
maybe
the
that's
other
why
one?
he's so annoyed. Like
he's actually a chimera of two.
Yeah. No, actually, I don't think I even. Oh no, I did read a couple of the books. I used to get them from like charity shops and stuff.
Yeah, there's quite a lot
old ones because there's so many, and I just used to. They were my like holiday reads. But then also my dad and I used to listen to the audiobook versions sometimes of like the old one. I think we had like two or three of them on audiobook. So if we'd go for a lot of long car journeys
on a
when I was younger. Yeah, on a tape, of course, on a tape. And we would listen to the Star Wars ones, which was also interesting.
Do you remember the stories? Do you remember which ones they were?
I can remember. So there was the one with Leia's kids. There was one where like Luke was still quite young, I think, and he had an apprentice, and the apprentice kind of went bad.
Oh, sounds familiar.
Which, right? So maybe that's it. They did like a mishmash, I guess, when they were doing but I can't remember. Unfortunately, I can't remember at all because I think I was, like, I don't know,
really
10
young
or 11.
Yeah.
When we were listening to these.
So many books. I don't actually know how many there are.
And different authors, right? They're all by different authors.
All different authors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And they're normally like common authors of the time. Like the ones that. Yeah. I know that who's the Last Jedi book? Excuse me while I consult the scrolls.
Magic mirror on the wall. Tell us.
I could just look at my bookshelf behind me, but absolutely not. It says here Michael Reeves and Maya Caitlin Bonhoeff. I don't remember that, but yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. There's loads. Loads. Yeah. Loads.
And some of them are quite conflicting as well, I feel.
Yeah. They are.
Like some of them also have random other stories that is just, it's almost like fan fiction.
Oh, I think you're getting into scary territory now. Yeah.
I mean,
It's not fun.
it's oh god, we're already cancelled and we're not even 10 minutes in yet.
You did it. You did it.
Okay, but we should continue. But so did you, what was your, oh, I do also, by the way, remember getting, because yeah, like I said, I grew up watching the original 3, and then I remember getting The Phantom Menace for one of my birthdays.
Oh my god, The Phantom Menace, Darth
And
Maul.
watching it.
He terrified a young boy that lived in my street. And like every time, anytime he was around, someone would have a Darth, because he was like huge in the early 2000s when the prequels came out. Like Darth Maul was everywhere and he was terrified of them. So that's my like one of my major memories of Star Wars is a boy
Darth
called
Maul
Jamie
being
being terrified of them. Yeah.
That's fair. See, I used to be, I was a Jedi, so I would run around with my like robe on. Be a Jedi and be fighting Darth Maul, doing all my sword things.
Cool. I think every kid like dressed up as Darth Maul at one point as well. I feel.
I don't know. I don't think I was as into Darth Maul. I was obviously Princess Leia several times.
Obviously.
Yes. Had my
Obviously.
hair in
I wouldn't
buns.
expect anything else.
I mean, who didn't dress up as Princess Leia as a child? Like, honestly.
I didn't. I was Disney princesses the whole way. Yeah,
Oh.
Unfortunately.
I mean, technically,
she is one now.
Right?
Yeah, she is one
There
now.
you go. At the time, she wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I distinctly remember the first like fancy dress thing I can remember. It was like a family fancy dress thing. My mum went as someone who she kept saying, I'm one of the tree people. And my dad and I were going, what do you mean one of the tree people? Like, what are you talking about? And dad put like a massive bin bag on and his diving mask, and he was Darth Vader. And then I went and I had like a little sheet wrapped around me, and I had my hair in buns, and I was Princess Leia.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was like 5.
I've only dressed up for Star Wars when I was on St. Kilda. We used to have every Saturday when we were off. We went to the pub. We used to have like themed nights, and we decided to do like because I think it was coming out around that time and we couldn't go see it or something. I think it must have been The Last Jedi, or maybe just after. And so we dressed up. I was Rey. My friend was Han Solo, and we had like little badges of like if you were the Rebel Alliance or if you were the Stormtroopers. So we had little badges for everyone.
Okay.
And then the bar lady turned up as R2-D2 in this like amazing like costume. And it was fantastic. And it was a really good night, actually. I had all the Star Wars on the background, on the projector and everything. It was fun.
That's a good fun. Actually, it just reminded me, I also used to get Lego sets, the Star Wars Lego sets, just the little ones. I think the biggest one I got at one point was one of those walking, oh gosh, no, I'm showing my ignorance because I can't even remember what they're called. The massive four-legged ones. Yeah,
they're cool.
Did
you ever play the Lego games? Lego
Ooh.
Star Wars?
No.
I used to love Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. That's a game. I got it on the PlayStation 2, I think. And there was like an Indiana Jones one as well.
That was a little.
Yeah. They're so good. Lego Star Wars is the best. It's honestly, like you can play the whole thing throughout and play as many different characters. It's great. I would recommend Lego Star Wars.
I don't think I ever played any Star Wars games.
What?
We didn't.
There's some really good ones now.
I think we've talked about this before anyway, that I wasn't super into like computer games anyway when I was younger. So
yeah.
We had snowboarding on the PS2. That was my racing games. I would do racing games. But
I can see that. I can see the competitive.
What can I say?
I'm single player, solely focused.
To beat people.
Yeah.
but yeah. Oh, and then yes, I remember when the new films came out, and I was so excited. And yeah, I don't know. What was your feeling of the new films? I feel like now we're going to polarize our audience.
Yeah, unfortunately I quite liked them.
I love them.
But I didn't like the last one. I thought that was absolute rubbish. Like spoilers ahead, but like bringing Palpatine back, what was that?
Right,
no,
that
we
seemed a
didn't
bit
need
mad.
that was stupid. It just didn't make sense in the whole like he's been resurrected by Sith power, like okay, but like why? I don't know, I thought that it could have been so much more done with it.
Yeah,
I think there must have just been like executives at Disney or something and directors and
I really liked the first of the new series, like the first new one, and then the others were sort of They were fine, but I wasn't as into them, I guess.
Yeah, I like the concept that anyone could be a Force user. I think that kind of moved away from that kind of, I keep saying medieval,
Right,
but
the
I do think it's
Jedi.
quite a medieval fantasy where there's like lineages and things like that.
Yes.
And that's the only ones that can kind of control the Force and stuff. And I think moving away from Skywalker it was quite interesting. But then at the same time, it just fell flat around... I think I like The Last Jedi for the romance because I like romance. And I'm unapologetic about that. But then, yeah, I think the last film was just a mismatch of like kind of like getting to the fans and trying to pull all fans from all generations in, and you couldn't please everyone.
Yeah.
And I think they tried too hard with it. And I would have liked to have seen it a completely different way. I don't know if I necessarily agree what they did with Luke, because Luke's character was so different.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was interesting, like, as a perspective. Like, when he threw the lightsaber, I remember in the cinema, everyone was like, like, what? Yeah. So, yeah, I remember that and stuff. So, yeah, it must have been... I don't know why they did it, but they did it.
Yeah.
Nevertheless.
Yeah.
But just to give you a quick overview, just a very quick overview before we go.
I was about to say,
yeah.
we should... This is an archaeology podcast, isn't it? We've just been talking about Star Wars.
We've just been geeking out about Star Wars. But basically, quick little
There is a point
overview.
to
Star Wars Saga was created by George Lucas. I think we all know that. The original film was in 1977. It was Episode 4, A New Hope. And that now it consists of 3 trilogies. So you've got the original trilogy, which is episodes 4 to 6. And then you've got the prequels, which is episodes 1 to 3, which is probably the ones that I grew up with more. I seen the original trilogy first, but then the prequel ones, they're the ones I remember, like, I have the high ground and all that kind of stuff. And then the sequel trilogy, which was the ones that we were just talking about, which is your episodes 7 to 9, 8.
And
9?
which is your favourite, out of curiosity?
Oh, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually really like that one as well.
Yeah. Definitely. But there's also an expanded universe as well, as we've talked about. There's series like the animated series with Clone Wars and Rebels. There's live action shows like The Mandalorian, my favorite. I love Grogu so much. Andor and Ashoka, countless books, comics, video games, as we've talked about. It's basically the genre itself is a space opera. It blends science fiction, fantasy, and mythology. It's a Western in space. A lot of people talk about, like a samurai meets Flash Gordon. That's one that's been battered around quite a lot.
But I like that indeed. You just mentioned it's like a blend of science fiction and fantasy and like mythology.
It is. It's very different from hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
And it's, kind of more mythic. Focus on the moral choices and the hero's journey, which is why I keep saying it's quite medieval in that aspect.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And
it's very also like there's very much the kind of the freedom from tyranny side of things as well, which is also, I would say, a little more, although that's sort of quite sci-fi as well, I guess. That's the sort of sci-fi element, right? The kind of going up against a sort of dystopian society kind of thing, like, and all that kind of stuff. And it's that kind of tension, like, because I guess that's the thing that I notice more in sci-fi than in fantasy, I suppose, is the sort of technological progress versus like traditional knowledge or like, I don't know, I guess with the Jedis, you could almost call it like spirituality.
Yeah, there's a spiritual wisdom to it. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And the galaxy itself feels kind of lived in and ancient and, built on civilizations that are forgotten
100%.
and then lost technologies and buried histories.
Hang on, sorry. I think I see some TIE fighters approaching our excavation site.
Oh, brilliant. I'll power up the shields.
Phew, that was a close one. I don't know about you, Ash, but I think our deflector shields might deserve a little rest.
I agree. While those TIE fighters float in space.
Yes, right. So let's talk a little bit more about the archaeology of Star Wars, seeing as we've just been basically rambling for half an episode about how much we love it and
rambling enthusiastically.
Exactly, enthusiastic rambling. So perhaps we can start with the sort of general overview of the landscape and the kind of world building, because I guess that's where you also start with an archaeological survey, right? Like in terms of understanding.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Yeah, so everyone kind of knows Star Wars, but it's actually set in a galaxy. So there's a vast collection of star systems connected by hyperspace routes, and then there's different cycles of civilization, war, and collapse. So you see that kind of over and over again with empires and the Old Republic and things like that. So there's major eras. So the galaxy has seen multiple major eras. So we have the ancient times of the Jedi, the Ratka Infinite Empire, the Old Republic, which lasts 25,000 years.
25?
I know, right? I was like, whoa, that's a long time. You don't think about it, but they talk about the Old Republic a lot, especially, well, obviously in the films. Then there's the Galactic Republic with Jedi as protectors. Then there's the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire with the Sith overlords. And then there's the conflict between the Resistance and the First Order. Yes.
My goodness. Which is kind of then crazy because you don't actually, like, also the planets are so varied, right?
Yes.
In their sort of level of, I guess, technological development and things. And
absolutely. There's a word that I found out, which I didn't know this word, and I will pronounce it incorrectly.
Oh, okay.
But there's different types of planets, but one of the planets, like Coruscant, is an urban encumpolysis. I can't say that.
Hang on, let me see it written
You
down.
do it. Encumpolysis.
Ecumenopolis.
That's you're better at it. Look at that. I can't read.
What can I say? I'm excellent at bullshitting.
But basically, that means it's a planet city.
Ah, okay. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Whoever came up with that, I hate.
Yeah. My goodness.
So Coruscant's like one of the richest planets. It kind of goes through dips and falls throughout the different periods, but it is the richest planet, and it's almost palimpsest as well, on top of like
true.
older stuff.
It's almost like what we were talking about, in the Archaeology of Discworld, where Ankh-Morpork is built on top
Yes,
of Ankh-Morpork.
yes,
Like you'd have like older stories and basements, like a DP.
It really is like the rich and poor in Coruscant, and you see that a lot in the films too, as well as the other media around it. But you've also got desert worlds. We all know Tatooine. You've got forest moons like Endor, ice planets, Hoth. Swamp worlds like Dagobah. You've got different, each planet contains different archaeological evidence of habitation, conflict, ancient civilizations, and just how people move and interact with the landscape, because the weather and the landscape is so variable. Yeah. And as Anakin Skywalker says, he doesn't like sand. So let's put that in, sorry. The most pointless line and the best line. But yeah, the galaxy itself is a palimpsest of societies, technologies, and belief systems.
Yeah.
But they're ancient yet familiar to viewers, which is always the key with these things. I think they try and make them as human as possible to understand.
Well, and I mean, it's so difficult, I think, to present something, especially if you're presenting it in something short like a film, It has to be vaguely understandable. But I mean, it's interesting, actually, that a lot of the sort of societies and everything, like you say, there is something very recognizable about it. But then you wonder whether that's just us as archaeologists, recognizing something as part of it. But if there was an alien species who was doing an archaeological survey of the planets, whether they'd recognize completely different parts of it.
Yeah. See, this is a question I always have, and I don't know if it's necessarily an archaeological question or like anthropologist. I don't know, but I think about aliens, right? And I think if aliens are out there, what does their technology look like? Because our technology is very anthropomorphic. Like cars have faces. Like, what would their tractors look like? Would they have like multiple arms? Do you know like how we call it like an arm and things like that?
Yeah.
It's a thing that haunts me. It's my Roman Empire, truly. I think about it quite a lot. Like, what would their technology look like? And obviously when we understand technology, how we put it into media, sometimes you find that society replicates the fiction, or vice versa. But like often, like lightsabers, for instance.
Yeah.
That's
swords.
Yeah, swords, but like
swords,
but laser swords. And in the 70s, you're getting a lot of scientific technological movement around lasers. So that's obviously influenced in some way. But again, like, what would their lightsabers look like? Alien lightsabers. Would they actually be a big sword? Probably not.
would they just be light particles floating around in a sort of humming mass of cloud?
Yeah.
Or would they even,
Like the Force to me is quite spiritual, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the Jedi that sort of, there's the light and the dark. It's very, I dare say, Christian. Oh, sorry. But maybe it's quite religious and it's quite a human belief, I think.
Yeah.
Like if the Force is an energy field connecting all living things, you can see that in many belief systems.
Yeah. And it's interesting just the way that even though it's these multiple planets, everything is quite anthropomorphized. And I'm trying to think how that develops within the films. I think you can see a little bit the development of ways of thinking, okay, perhaps there are other ways to exist apart from just being human, with the later films compared to the first ones where everything still, there's a lot of two-legged creatures and a lot of, people who wear clothes and all of that
wearing
kind
clothes.
of stuff.
That's a very human thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's very recognizable, of course, because it's the filmmakers. But then, it's kind of demonstrates really perfectly that sort of concept within anthropology and archaeology that you always assume that what you have is the norm. And it's really hard to get your mind out of that, even if you're trying.
Yeah, even if you're literally believing wars in space, you're creating like a whole
whole galactic
galaxy. Yeah. That's like very difficult to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But and I mean, so you mentioned the Force. How do you think the Force, in terms of archaeological, we did an episode in the past about like how you would recognize magic archaeologically. How do you think you would identify the Force archaeologically? Like if we didn't, obviously this is all stuff that was happening a long time ago, right? A galaxy a long time ago, a galaxy far away.
Yeah, thousands of years.
So just a little phrase I came up with just off the top of my head. But so, imagine that the Force doesn't necessarily exist anymore, or not everyone knows about it. How would we be able to identify it archaeologically, do you think?
Well, I think it's got to be very similar to how we would identify settlements and things like that. True. Because if you find, the Sith and the Jedi, they build temples and academies.
True.
Yeah. We all know Order 66 and all that kind of stuff. They have religious sites across the galaxy and they have lots of different archaeological things that are going on. Like, there's Force-powered technology and stuff in the Infinite Empire and things. So I think you can kind of see these major spiritual sites being reused, forgotten about over and over again throughout the galaxy. So I think that's how you would pick up but that's obviously the very spiritual aspect. I don't know how you'd pick up the physical aspect of the Force because it's felt.
Well, and this is what's interesting about the archaeology of religion and magic and things, right? It's sort of similar. Not that I'm saying the Force is a religion or magic, because, I
mean, there are Jedis. There's real Jedis.
That's true,
a real
right?
religion.
Yeah, even in our world, there's Jedi can be a religion. No, but also I think they do talk about it as a religion in the films as well, right? In some cases.
Yeah, it is. Well, it is. Yeah, it's a belief system. I mean, I think everyone seems to believe in the Force, though.
Yeah,
there's not.
But archaeologically, indeed, identifying things like that, those sort of concepts which are more about belief, is really difficult because you can only go with the physical remains, which, like you say, temples. But then I imagine before. I mean, I'm just thinking the Old Republic, 25,000 years, and before that, you have the what was it, Rakata?
Yeah, the Rakata Infinite
Empire, which had the Force, right? Like, and the Jedi, which was the
kind of
precursors to the Jedi, I guess. I guess we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But, I imagine that potentially very early on, the Force existed. People believed in the Force or were able to manipulate the Force, but they didn't have the capacity for building those sorts of temples and stuff yet, or academies or whatever. So which is the same as sort of almost identifying, religion and magic and things in our world archaeologically. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. And I think, but this is the thing, I think with Star Wars is quite convoluted and complex world system because, as we said before, it changes constantly and it also develops all the time. There's new things that are added into the canon, things that are taken out, and but there's also the physical manifestations which are added later.
Yeah, the random CGI creatures that are added.
Yeah, but there's also the physical manifestations of the Force, the ancient entities of the Force, which are called the Celestials.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're like the energy field that exists in all things. So that's the Force, do you know? So it's...
see, this bit I missed. This is my
and these are things that can't... and they're not understood by average people, Celestials. So it's kind of... It's confusing because, there's like this whole religious system within the Force, which is different from the other systems that then pop up. Like, I think the Celestials, now I forget, like, this is something I don't really know much about, so please forgive me, but there seems to be that there's like the Force wielders are made up of a father, a daughter, and a son, which is very Christian to me in that way, but I was brought up
the trilogy.
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 Oh my god, it makes so much sense now. But like, there's like, there's the father that keeps the balance, and then there's there's also a mother, but she drinks from a font of some sort of power. And
she's just drinking gin in the background.
Yeah, but she grants mortality in the pool of knowledge. What does that sound like, Eve? Like, there's lots of stuff that's like taken from other things in our own narrative and belief systems that you find in Star Wars, which is like interesting because then, it just develops over time. And things change constantly, which is very much like society and culture and archaeology, like
and our understanding of society
understanding
and
well.
So I guess it works.
It's so complex.
And I mean, one of the reasons that makes it so complicated is it's not just a world, right? You're not just doing world building, you're doing galaxy building, which is crazy. So I mean, gosh, an archaeology, this is probably a bit too big even for 2 episodes, an archaeology of Star Wars.
We might have to dig a bit deeper.
We might have to dig much deeper because I mean, I'm just thinking about like the different sort of technological developments in the different places. So you've got like Coruscant, which is the planet-wide city, let me check that word again, Ecumenopolis.
The planet-wide city.
Also, that's very much like, I remember you had lots of like spaceships everywhere and you have lots of glass and metal and great amazing sort of buildings all over the place. But then you have the tree villages in the Ewok villages on Endor, and then you also have like very different kind of technology made from the natural materials on Tatooine and all these other places. So it's sort of it's very much dependent on the landscape and very much dependent on what is necessary.
You've got different, like, we'll talk about material culture later, but you've got different like ways of making, like you mentioned Tatooine's usually scavenging is how they kind of build their technology, and it's a huge part of the culture in Tatooine. Out of necessity a lot of the time too, like you've got Rey and you've got Luke as well, who live on Tatooine and things. So you've also got like the Ewoks, on Andor, they have different material culture traditions. So you have this kind of uneven development throughout the galaxy, which is very, I think, reflective of Earth as well. But then you've kind of got, some planets that use blasters and have lightsabers, and then you have bows and arrows as well. Like, so
as we can see in the battle between the Ewoks and Stormtroopers,
they win overall because Stormtroopers are really bad at aiming.
The understanding of the landscape as well, right? Like, which is also quite.
Yeah, you've almost got guerrilla warfare going on, So, there's like, and then also then the battles itself, like all the battle archaeology you could go into would be insane. And would also leave
incredible sites, right? Like all of Clone Wars battlefields, the crashed Star Destroyers, like all the Imperial temples and everything that have just been trashed, the ruins.
And like, then all the debris in space, and you have redshift, which means it's constantly moving away from whatever sun or, moon and everything that's going on in the galaxy. So that means you have to if you're doing spatial analysis, that would be really difficult.
It could change so much by the time you've done the survey versus when you actually publish your report. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And you'd have to figure out where it was, like actual coordinates, and bring it back and calculate it and everything like that. So that would be intense. And I'm sure in the future there will be space archaeology, but now
there probably already is. I don't know.
There's someone doing it. There has to be. All the satellites that Musk's
the only way I know space archaeology is people using satellites to do like surveys to find new sites and stuff. But
there's got to be stuff for like, you know, the different kind of ships of rockets or whatever they put up there, the satellites and broken down and hubs and things that they've got, and because there's lots of apparently trash all around the Earth, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the satellites and things that we need.
Yeah, so we need to, and as we know, archaeologists love rubbish. So
trashology.
Oh,
I love trashology.
And I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit as well, but like the way that different species interact across the galaxy also changes, right? Like you have some that are completely isolated, and
thousands and thousands of species, and all of them have different language, trade routes, colonial outposts. Like there's so many. But then you do have, in Star Wars, you have the core worlds, which kind of dominate the kind of narrative a lot of the time, and then you've got the outer rim, which is kind of the frontier territory, which a lot of the Mandalorians is sort of set in, because it's the Wild West of Star Wars.
The back, and that's where the sort of Western aspect comes in, right? It's like ain't no room for
ding 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 ding.
But how come that you think? Because I mean, it's set in space. There's aliens. There's all sorts of things happening. What do you think is it that makes the galaxy have that sort of, we talked about it already, like it has an archaeology, it has that ancient feeling, we know that it's developed over time, but yet it also looks very familiar. What would you say is the kind of biggest part of that?
Well, I think it's the kind of aesthetic of it. So like technology, it looks worn, the ships are kind of patched together, you're kind of seeing the material culture and the biography of those objects and things as you're watching, so you feel immersed in that city or in that landscape, and it shows you know, so many, if you think about, like, again, we've talked about Coruscant quite a bit, but the layers of construction in that planet, the very concept of having a planet that is a city as well is bizarre. Like that's not really how we see planets. So I think everything looks very lived in, and it shows habitation and modification that goes on for thousands and thousands of years, which is very realistic archaeologically when you think about how many times sites are reused, objects are reused, and they have wear patterns and materials added. And so I think, that's why it feels familiar yet ancient.
Yeah, and which is part of the trick of good world building, right? That's what we've talked about in the Archaeology of the Witcher and the Archaeology of Discworld as well. Part of the reason that make those franchises or those series so successful is that they don't just spring up out of nowhere. Like they have that ancient history, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've just noticed, is that a massive triangular ship appearing in the sky above us?
Oh, no, that's an Imperial Star Destroyer. Probably get out of here.
Okay, let's cut this short then. That's about it for this episode of At My Trial. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be continuing our survey of the galaxy in the next one. As always, please do like, subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us to support the show. And if you're interested in hearing more archaeological content, check out the other shows on the Archaeology Podcast Network. As always, you can find all of our contact information, plus links and further reading on today's discussion in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. The Archaeology Podcast Network's chief editor is Rachel Roden. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy. Our social media and newsletter coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht. The APN was founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle on December 1st, 2014. We're supported by our amazing podcast hosts, many volunteers, and listeners like you. Check out membership at www.archpodnet.com/members.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.